Hello again, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about risk management. And in order to get there, you have to first understand what risk is. It's both consequences and probability. In fact, it's the product of that, as seen right here in this bullet. If you increase the consequences, you increase the risk. If you increase the probability of that event, you increase the risk. If you decrease either of those, you decrease it proportionally. So it's the product, consequences times the risk. Once you have those, that's a very valid definition for risk. And so with that, what you're always looking to try to do is to manage the risk so that you can lower the risk, but you've got to consider all of the risks from a given venture. So they might be health risks, financial risks, they might be any kind of an undue outcome that you might not want. You're going to want to do a risk management or risk analysis for it. So why that's of interest is that when it comes to nuclear power, a common misconception is that safe equals zero risk. Now, technically, because the consequences and the probability of an outcome is never going to be zero unless you have no outcome, then you're never going to have zero risk. And so the only way to get zero risk for anything like energy is to not have energy. But then the risk from not having energy is not having energy. So you've always got risk when it comes to transportation, manufacturing, logistics, energy, healthcare, economy, food. All of these things have risks, and it comes down to managing the risk according to the different outcomes and their probabilities. The intent after that then is to look at the cost per risk reduction. And that's really what risk management is how much bang for your buck do you get? You're going to spend $1 million to reduce your risk a minuscule amount, when it makes a lot more sense to spend $1 million if you can reduce the risk a whole lot. And that's a lot of the issue when it comes to nuclear energy, insofar as you're never going to get zero risk for any energy form, right? If you're doing solar, it's got a lot of materials that requires a lot of manufacturing, a large footprint. With wind, people can fall off of turbines. And so there's always some risk, and it's never zero, but it needs to be managed. And nuclear has an extremely low risk, even though it's perceived as being very high, largely because of some very high profile events that occurred in history. And those are the things that people think of instead of the safe operation of nuclear power plants that happens on a regular basis. And so if you look at this paper down here that's referenced at the bottom, it points out that this radiophobia that the public has, that they have this perception that all radiation is deadly and dangerous unless it's natural, even though all radiation is the same if it's the same energy